is a Mets here. For all your Mets here, let's go. Bring it home. Bring it home. Bring it home Make it happen. There's no stopping us now. We're gonna do it again. It's not a question of how. It's just a matter. It's just a matter. It's just a matter of when.
Hello again, everybody. Joe Piscopo, Shea Stadium. The big story. Mets 86. Exciting, thrilling, awesome. Let's take a look.
We got the teamwork to make the dream work. We got the teamwork to make the dream work. We got the teamwork to make the dream work. Ooh, we got the teamwork to make the dream work. We're gonna make it this time. We're gonna take it home. Come on!
What's up, Met fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets with Rob. How is everybody doing on this day before Christmas, which is MLB playoffs, MLB Postseason 2022. Our New York Mets are postseason bound once again. And before I say anything about the game, anything about the pitching matchups, anything about the lineups or roster construction, Met fans, who cares what Brave fans, Yankee fans, Philly fans, no matter what they say, haha, wild card, haha this, haha that, enjoy it. Because we've been beaten down enough as a fan base where you just have to enjoy it. And I give a lot of credit to Met fans in the National Series, the last couple of games of the regular season at home. People, yes, we're a little bit subdued and like, damn, we didn't win the division. But yesterday when I was at the game, people were a little bit more happy and people were ready for, planning out tailgates, planning out what they're going to do before the game. Everything in between. Everything's getting planned, work schedule, what time I'm leaving out of work on Friday, whatever it has to be. Enjoy the moment. All right? This is a new Mets. This is a new owner. This is an owner who wants to be in the playoffs consistently. So enjoy it. We don't get this a lot. Hopefully this is something that is changing, that we see it every year, because all you want as a fan of a team is to make the playoffs, because anything can happen. So with that said, guys, I started a little earlier. I know I said I was going to start at 6 o'clock, but I said 5:50 because Buck Showalter is going to speak at 6, and I want to bring that audio to you so we can all listen to it. He might say who's in the roster. I don't know exactly what time the roster has to be finalized for the wild card round. I don't know that yet. There is no confirmation about if Marte is going to be on the wild card, the playoff roster. Nobody knows that yet. Maybe we'll get more clarity when Buck speaks. So when he speaks, we will listen to it forever, how long it is, and then we'll get right into the playoff preview. We'll talk about what we know about the rotation, what's going to happen. You guys probably heard Max Scherzer is pitching in Game 1, and until basically what's happening with Jacob deGrom is if the Mets win Game 1, he's not pitching Game 2. It'll be Chris Bassett. The Mets lose Game 1, Jacob deGrom will be pitching Game 2. The reason why some people might be a little pissed off about why didn't you just go with your two best pitchers, deGrom and Scherzer? That was what we talked about the whole season. All you got to do is keep these two guys healthy so they're pitching Game 1 and 2 of whatever series they're in. Well, this is new. The playoff series, wild card series is new. This is not like you can look back over the years and say, oh, look what this team did, look what this team did. It's new, right? Best out of 3. You got to win 2 games. And you only get 1 day, which is a travel day, until the NLDS. So I think it's a smart move to use Jacob deGrom as your ace in the hole. If you win Game 1, now you can use Chris Bassett. And if we lose Game 2, at least you know Jacob deGrom's pitching Game 3 of the wild card series. But if you win the first 2 games, you got Jacob deGrom going in the NLDS, and it would be perfect timing Wednesday, Game 2 on the NLDS for Scherzer to start Game 2. So that is best case scenario. But I always go into a series looking at the fact that I always think a game is going to go either 5 games, 7 games, or in this case, 3 games. I always feel that way. I always feel like it's almost impossible sometimes to just roll through teams. You know, these teams are not bad teams. You're not playing a bad team. Yeah, everybody has some type of issue on their team that they worry about and fans worry about. But everybody's been talking about, oh, then the Mets got to face the Padres. Oh, then they got to face the Dodgers and who knows what else. Well, if you look at the numbers offensively from the San Diego Padres over the last month, they weren't that good. They were just as bad, if not worse, than the Mets offense in September. And the Mets offense was pretty bad. And that was with a lineup that got Juan Soto and Josh Bell. And if you even want to put Brandon Drury up on there, and also acquired Hader, but offensively talking, it took them the last couple of days of the season or a week of the season to clinch a playoff berth. So they didn't really go and all firing during this September, and now they're the hottest team in baseball. They're one of the teams that are kind of stumbling over the finish line as well at the end of September, just like the Mets. So both of these teams, if you look, like I said, when the Mets play a big series, I always like to listen to radio host of whatever state they're in or city they're in, and listen to beat writers. I started following beat writers for San Diego Padres, and that was all over Twitter with beat writers talking about the offense that needs to show up, because the same way the Mets are built, the Padres are built. All right, they've counted all season on their starting pitching. All right, that's what the Mets counted on as well, right? Especially now, granted, the Padres have more of a power lineup, but they're not they're not the Braves power lineup, right? They do have power, but they're not the type of team that you have to worry about 1 through 9, right? 1 through 5 is pretty damn good, but when you get through after that, they struggle. And that's similar to the Mets, to be honest with you. So with that said, this I honestly think is one of the most evenly matched first rounds that you can have, because of the fact that the struggling offense of the Padres in September and the struggling offense of September of the Mets are coming together. Somebody's got to win. It's going to come down to who is going to pitch better. It's going to be that simple. And it still seems like Yu Darvish is pitching game one. The Mets have not fared well in Yu Darvish's career. He is undefeated against the Mets anytime he pitched them. And if you know the season series record against the Padres, it was 2-4 in 6 games. Again, take that with a grain of salt. I never like to look at that because too many people actually do. And if you look at people who are picking their playoff brackets and showing who's going to go through all the way to the World Series and win, go figure. Everybody's picking the Dodgers and the Astros. What else is new? Because nobody actually has a brain of their own, especially these beat reporters and a lot of these, so-called experts always pick the favorites because why wouldn't you, right? Well, let me know which 2 favorites have made the World Series together going into the playoffs. Can you name me the last time? It's been a while, guys. It's been a while, right? Yeah, one favorite might make it. No favorites might make it. Both favorites. Again, it's usually very unlikely that both favorites go into the playoffs and make it to the World Series and face off with each other. Again, everybody, there were some people that thinking it's going to be another Braves-Astros situation. Really good teams to great teams. Of course that can happen. But there's no reason why it can't be the Cleveland Guardians against the Philadelphia Phillies. You know why? Because if you make it, you can win. And that's the thing that I wanted to talk about. When it comes to the Mets, I know some Met fans like, damn, we should have won the division. Well, stop crying over spilled milk, right? Mike Puma put that in the tweet. He actually stole my line because I was saying that before him. But don't cry over spilled milk. All you have to do, and the Mets need to do this, and they said it in their post-game after yesterday and after the last couple of games, we have to look forward. The only thing you can do is look forward. You can't change the past. You have to look forward. And that's what Met fans got to do. Met fans are going to show up strong. All indications are the Mets are wearing black for whatever that's worth, but I figured they were because they changed their Twitter logo icon to a black and white logo. So they're clearly probably going to be wearing their black jersey. So if you go into the game, obviously, I had tickets for the game. I sold my tickets. I am going Saturday. I want to stream with you guys for game 1. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll be wearing my black on the stream. Hopefully, you're repping your colors as well, but try to wear black. It's pretty cool. I do know the 7-Line Army is wearing orange just to stand out a bit. I don't agree with that, but again, that's not my call. But with that said, guys, don't forget to hit on that like button. I'm waiting for – let me just make sure I got SNY on. I do. So as soon as Buck Showalter's press conference comes on, I'll take the audio right to you, and then we got to go right to the audio, and then we'll get right into the pitching matchups. We don't know what the roster finalization is yet. Maybe they'll talk about it. Buck will talk about it. I'm assuming somebody's going to ask him about Marte. We'll find out more about that. So maybe most of our information that we need for the series we will get from Buck Showalter, but we shall see. So with that said, guys, baseball night in New York is coming on. So hit on that like button. I'll be with you probably a little around close to 7:30, give or take 7:30. We'll see. If you get to everything, then we'll just shut down the stream, and I'll see you guys tomorrow night. Game starts at 8 o'clock tomorrow, so that's always fun. So the Mets are wearing those October Rise playoff shirts and hoodies. Those are always fun. The Mets had if you didn't know, a workout session today at Citi Field. You got all the guys on the couch on baseball night in New York, and we will get to that as soon as we can. So as soon as they go to Buck Showalter, we will know, and I'll let you guys know. Christian, awesome. Got the 2 pairs. Mets boxes delivered. Yes, nice. Gotta love it. Can't complain about Mets foot boxers, right? So, like I was saying, guys, I think too many people were basically feeling sorry for themselves because the Mets didn't win the division. You have to go forward. You have to, right? I think it's very important for the team, which I already think they did. They already moved forward. I know it was against a bad Nationals team, but the offense seemed to, all you got to do. See, this is the thing with certain things. It doesn't matter who you play at some point in the last part of the season when it didn't matter with like the Nationals' last 3 games. Getting your just confidence of knowing you can hit good pitches, because what you want to do, because there won't be a lot of mistakes from good pitching. You're gonna face a lot of good pitching, and you're gonna face a lot of less mistakes. What you want to see the Mets offense what they did in the National Series is hit mistakes, because the Braves pitchers left a lot of mistakes over the plate. The Mets did not cause damage with those mistakes. That was the big problem. In the National Series, you saw they were right on those mistakes. They were crushing the ball with the mistakes. That's what the Mets have to do. And it gets your confidence up no matter who you're facing. Because when you hit mistakes, that's how you win playoff games. You don't get a lot of mistakes in playoff games. When you get those mistakes, you got to capitalize. And that includes errors. That includes double plays that are not turned. That is bad base running, bad fielding, whatever you need it to be. Every mistake matters in the postseason. All right? Mistakes happen. You got to capitalize. That goes for every team in the postseason, but exclusively with our Mets. We thrived on teams making mistakes and us capitalizing on it. We know we don't got the power offense of the Padres, the Yankees, the Braves, the Astros. We know that. So we have to play a totally different game than those guys, right? The Braves struck out 11 times against Jacob deGrom. But guess what? They scored 4 runs off of Jacob deGrom, right? Because they hit home runs. We're not that type of team, and we can't look to be that type of team. We have to put hits together. We got to hit mistakes. We got to work the counts. Working the counts, what the Mets did all year very well, is exactly what this team has to do. You got to work the counts. There's not a lot of good bullpens. Even in the playoffs, there's a couple of teams that got good bullpens. But most teams, if you get their starters out early, they got to use more of their bullpen. Not only that can help you in the first game, that can help you the rest of the series. So, once again, Baseball Night in New York is on right now. I do not know if Buck Showalter is speaking yet. Let me see. Hold on. Let's see. All right, so Buck Showalter is addressing the media. Listen up, guys. Oh, sorry, guys. Give me a second. Sorry about that. All right. Oh, there we go. All right. Listen up, guys.
It's been here for about 3 months. We got it about the midway point.
Why are these flavors? Oh, they're blue and orange. Think of everything, Harold. You think I was going to get that, did you, Ethan? Got the, it's called a dais. It's not called a podium, it's called a dais. What is it? It's called something, a lectern. It's called a lectern.
Lectern.
It's called that. They had a spelling bee on the plane the other day with the rookies. Who didn't win is the question.
Hold on 1 second, guys.
Then I asked them about spelling Coliseum. Or I validated.
All right, let me just make sure you guys can hear it.
On this team? What? He spelled Coliseum right. It's a hard one.
So he's just
You spell it?
bullshitting to the reporters right now with nothing, having fun. So listen up, guys.
I don't know what school you went to. You went to school of 3, you got a chance. I had about 48, I think, my senior class. What's new?
Steve.
Buck, when it comes to making the decision on Marte, is it going to be about if he can have any impact on the game or if he can have his full impact that we've seen when he's healthy this season?
Yeah, we'll take all the things into consideration. We have,
Apparently,
What about the tire company? What did you say that kicked that off?
I have no idea. It happens way too often. Something that sounds like syrup.
We put the dogs to bed. My wife goes, what's the lady's name? Siri? No. Alexa plays sleep music for the dogs. I know how they turn on now, but I don't have one of those. We'll take everything into play. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. He's one of the reasons why he was in demand, because he's a multi-skilled guy that can, help in a lot of ways. But obviously at 10 o'clock tomorrow, we'll have it out there.
All right, so 10 a.m. tomorrow, rosters have to be finalized. We'll know by then.
Do you plan to set your entire rotation in advance, or will it depend on whether you win or lose game one?
Well, because we haven't announced other than today, it'll have some bearing. You're talking about just obviously for these three.
Not even necessarily to announce, but for what you guys are planning to do.
We know what we're planning to do, but some things are dictated by tonight's game or tomorrow night's game.
Some things meaning like the actual identity of the game two starter.
Right. The game two starter could be dictated by how we do tomorrow night. I think it could be similar to what San Diego's doing.
Right down the line there, next to Tony.
Hey, Buck. What was it like watching Manny grow up, managing him? What was that relationship like? And what have you seen, given the early roots of that, the player is today?
Well, I've known he and Yane for a long time, and I remember the first time I saw him. And then, we used to have day games. We had all our farm system clubs within 45 minutes, most of them except for AAA. And my wife knew on Saturday or Sunday day games we were going to go over and watch. I think at that time he was in Aberdeen, and then it got into Frederick and Bowie. They're all right there, so got to see him a lot. But I remember Brady Anderson going over and sitting on him for a few days to see if thought he was ready to come up and help us at third base. We were kind of covertly working him out at third base at 2:00 in the afternoon. I think he probably figured out what we were doing, but it's been real proud of him and his things he's turned into in a lot of ways. He's a good one.
And in the same vein, you've actually not just managed against Bob Melvin, you've managed Bob Melvin. So you guys have done this full timeline. What's it been like to know Bob in a couple of different ways?
Very proud of Bob. He's an outstanding manager and well thought of and a challenge. He's always prepared and his team's always ready to play. Bob saved my job one day with the Yankees, I think, when I had a DH. I was looking for a right-handed DH against Randy Johnson. And yes, we did look at matchups back then. We did look at history, and he had a hit or two off of Randy, and that was good enough for me because one of my right-handed hitters, I think it was Laritz, wasn't going to be able to play that day. So I think we were carrying three catchers at the time. And Bob got the DH, and I got a lot of communication to me that wasn't a real good idea from people other than the media. And I think Bob got a double or home run. I'm not sure, but it was a key blow. I know. I just didn't want to. Made my day. As it left the park, if I could have done some dance up the runway, which I think I did, very much like Randy Velarde when I was told not to play him and he hit a home run in Fenway. And the coaches caught me celebrating it because, I got to keep my job for another day. So thanks, Bob.
Dave?
Buck, back to the rotation for a second. Obviously, the 3-game series is a new.
Yeah,
twist,
it's hard. We kept trying to reach.
Sorry about that, guys. Thing keeps on cutting off.
You're going to base it on that, like you said, the first, whether you win or lose in game one. You have to think ahead to the next round when you're thinking about this? I mean, I wouldn't call it a luxury that you can do that, but is that something that has to enter into your thinking just because of the short time frame and the number of games you're dealing with?
The focus is completely on tomorrow night's game, but, when you're doing rosters and stuff without jeopardizing being able to put your best foot forward in these 3 games, you do have to at least consider that. Everybody does, So, the tiebreaker will always be what's best for these 3 games. But we have people capable of pitching, and all through the rotation. And one of the reasons we've been able to put together a pretty good year is that, we've had some depth in our rotation.
Tim.
On that note, starting pitchers are often very routine-oriented and regimented people. How confident are you that DeGrom or Bassett can go, not necessarily knowing what day they're going to pitch at this point?
Oh, they know. They know. We talked about this a week ago, at least, and they've been aware for a long time where it falls. And it's like if you got rained out, would you be able to pitch the next day? They're faced with similar stuff, but they know the order, how it may fluctuate. But, it's kind of been a strength of our club is the guys don't let their ego get in the way of it. Tell me when I can contribute, and I will.
Tim over here on the right.
Was Marte able to swing a bat and throw a ball today?
Oh, he did it. He did it yesterday and the day before. But different forms of comfort level, the last few days.
What was the comfort level today?
Tomorrow, he's improving, little by little.
Buck's not showing his hand yet.
You guys are facing Darvish tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
You faced him a couple times this year. What do you remember from those games about what he did well and maybe what your team can do differently with the third try?
It's going to be it's going to be tough. He's one of the best pitchers in the game, and that's what you're going to see from here on out. And kind of hit me the last 3 games here. Reminded me of the quality of pitching we faced for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We saw some really good pitching, and last 3 games wasn't at that level. So you're going to see another good one. The margin of error is very small. One, to beat him, you have to have a good starting effort by your guy. And, runs are going to be a premium. When you get a chance to cash something, you need to try to push it across. But guys with great track records have games where, they're not as good as they have been in the past. That's why we go watch the games, because what should happen doesn't always happen. We've seen that with some of our guys. So we'll find out. A lot of, really at times carry 6 pitches. But, you understand their percentages and what he's thrown, and then all of a sudden you prepare for all this and it's completely the opposite. I've seen that happen many times. Happened a few days ago. Somebody went completely a different direction than what they've done. And we'll see. And up here you have to make the adjustments on the fly. They'll throw a different look at you very quickly. You get a lot of input this time of year, and all through the year, especially analytically from tendencies, and then all of a sudden you got something that's a real strength of a player, and you're asking them to go completely away from that strength. It's like the guy's first ball fastball hitter. Does that mean you throw him a breaking ball every time? No, you throw him a fastball a little bit off the plate and see if you can get weak contact. Use what you know to play to your strengths, and that's what I'm sure he's going to try to do.
Jake?
Biggest difference this year in the postseason, much fewer off days in between the games. How do you think that impacts your ability to bring guys back on short rest? How does it impact your bullpen specifically, and how do you think it's going to impact this postseason as a whole?
Well, like I said, right now it's about tomorrow night's game. And impact, every day, like we have all season long, we say, okay, where are we? Know that when we go in the game tomorrow, everybody's going to be available for the most part. We might have one that's not, in different degrees of availability. So what you do is after each game, you sit back and you look at it. You understand this is not playing for the long game here. You're playing the short game. It's a whole different time of the year. So I think understanding the sense of urgency that each night brings is important. And, it's a different time of the year. But what did I not answer?
Do you think this structure is going to favor teams that have more pitching depth compared to previous seasons?
Well, if you're a wild card, not a divisional winner, that's pretty obvious. But I think pitching depth always plays, and there's always in these playoff situations somebody that you didn't think was going to be a force is, and there's a lot of riding a hot hand. But the playoff format, I don't critique it and over-evaluate it. I do from a competitive standpoint, making sure we try to have a feel for what might be coming. But what you do a lot is say, what if? You better say, what if? If, Max gets hit in the elbow with the second pitch of the game, where are you going? You got to ask those questions. So, and the roster that you end up with should have a little bit of flexibility, but also a sense of urgency. The guys that are real valuable are the guys that can do both, can have multiple ability to do things short and long. But, the length of a start is looked at differently. The quality start, it's not necessarily 7 innings anymore. If you look at some of the starts in the postseason, they're usually a break from what the expectations are.
All the way in the back.
Buck, obviously the guys played to get to this moment. Do you feel a need maybe to speak to some of the guys about not letting the moment in the games become too big?
Well, we've had some moments, similar that we have spoke about that. And, I don't know about need. There's a way to get certain things like that across without causing some alarm, because when you do too much of that, you think that that's a red flag. And, some of that's Captain Obvious that they go, but with some of our kids, especially our younger guys, I think it's something that, I know you're not assuming we haven't already done that. So, but you'd be surprised sometimes. It's not always just the players. Sometimes it's, you try to keep as many things normal, whether it be an advanced meeting, whether, you get all this information. We've had scouts out, just like every team does. And you get this, cascade of, a lot of information. Not that we don't have it, but now you got to be careful at what you give the players, because you can overload. Mattingly used to say, when are they going to play that song? When's the game starts? God, can we just get there? And that's, I'm not saying it's comfortable, but at least you're in your element a little bit. You know how 9 innings works. And, the players, they know it's important, and they know it's the first time that, you could be going home if you don't win games. So, I think they realize it. And I think that the one concept with this group is they've been very mature and very focused. And I think they know what's important and what's not. And they talk a lot among themselves about that. And I hear them. There's so many times this year I've started to think I might want or need to say something, and they say it. It started in the spring with Lindor. He beat me to the punch. Pete, I can't tell you how many times I've started to talk to them about something, whatever, and, I'll talk to Shav, and he'll go, yeah, he was just talking about that yesterday in detail. Okay, so they're a very easy group to trust.
Joel.
Buck, 2 things if possible. Just so we're not kind of hinting and beating around the bush. If you win game 1, is the intention to start Bassett in game 2? If you lose game 1, is the intention to start DeGrom in game 2?
Well, I'm certainly not going to broadcast that today to the Padres if that is the case. But we'll see what the post-game tomorrow brings.
The other question is, does the presence of a dominant lefty closer push you more to get Alvarez on the roster as an option late in the game?
Well, they could carry as many as 4 in their bullpen, too. But if you look at how they might be used, obviously it's all hands on deck and something like this. But it's certainly something I'm aware of. It's something that has come up in the conversation about him and Darren. And there's nobody, you look at his track record, especially the number of bats he's had against the Padres and their staff. There's a lot of, Darren's worked very hard the last 5 or 6 days.
Well, Aileen, that's just
we'll
a
see
good,
where we
that's
are
just
with
a
all
good
that
question.
tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
He tried.
Yes, he has a chance. Everybody here today has a chance. All God's children have a chance. They're all somebody's son. I keep reminding myself when I might get a little upset, I go, that's somebody's son.
Jerry?
Hey, Buck. Kind of piggyback on Russ's question. How much different is the energy, both for you personally and collectively for the team, going into the postseason as opposed to the regular season? Francisco's talking about how much he loves the new gear they get and the excitement of seeing the new.
Which Francisco? We got two now.
True Lindor, sorry. Let's talk about that.
The other one was excited about the new gear.
Yeah.
His mother, my sister sent me a picture of one of my sisters and Francisco Alvarez's mother in Atlanta. I guess they became friends. I think they might have had a cerveza together. What now?
But just, what's the energy like? It's different, obviously. How much different is it both for you personally and the guys?
The guys that try to act all cool, oh, it's just another, no. It obviously, but what's driving that? It's a sense of finality, a sense of, first time. I tell you what I don't miss that I'm happy I haven't seen is a bunch of boxes in the locker room. That's always a sign in September that things aren't working out too well. They probably snuck a few in there because some of them need to get some boxes, get some of that equipment out of there. But no, what's that George Carlin thing about stuff? These guys get more stuff. What do you need a bigger garage for? For more stuff. I need another closet for my stuff. I don't. I put it over. If I get something, put it over there. And usually, I shouldn't say give it away because now I won't get any more stuff. You ever heard that? That whole line, the whole comic routine. He's funny. It's a little crude sometimes, but aren't we all? Not me.
Abby?
Bob Melvin was just in here, and he talked about how you influenced him as a manager. As a bench player, he said you were the first manager to tell him when he would be playing, which allowed him to sort of prepare ahead of time. Is that still something that you do, and where does that sort of foundation or philosophy or tactic come from?
I think you always, the old expression, you might remember this or whatever, but you always remember how somebody made you feel. You always try to put yourself in a really pitcher's shoes. You try to, you got to pick their brain. You got to talk to them. Having been, I've DH'd. I've been a guy that didn't necessarily start a game, and how, what goes through their head. Because especially up here, those people are going to be instrumental in whether or not you win or lose a baseball game. Well, it's not that important. All of a sudden, you need them to play for a week. But and you also don't want to overlook an orchid while searching for a rose. All of a sudden, you don't think Bob Melvin, all of a sudden he plays a few days ago, maybe he's a little better. So I think constantly putting yourself in their shoes, and realizing how hard this is to play and to do, and just eliminating, try to think what they're thinking. It's the unknown that usually drives players crazy. And if you're, it's tough to tell them the truth. I'm getting ready to have some tough conversations in here about people that maybe were with us all year that aren't on the roster. It's no fun. It's no fun. That's why I tell Billy all the time, I said, please, when we deliver good news in the spring about, please, can I be a part of that too? So you get one of those for every 10 you get on the other side. But when you've been in their shoes, I always beat them to it. I remember one time I was getting sent down from AAA, and I got there real early so that Johnny didn't. I walked up to Johnny, you got something to talk to me about? I said, I got it. I'll see you. Thanks. He talked about it later. But I started coaching before they could release me. Beat them to it. Never got released. Remember the first time you had told somebody that there was somebody better at it than you? Think about it. The first time these players, someone says, okay, it's different. They haven't had that in their life. You're getting cut or you're not. We think there's a certain tact that it's not, you don't go into it that you're going to win that conversation. You go into it doing what's right.
Andy.
Buck, how much does DeGrom's blister play into the thought process of maybe not starting him in game 2?
It's part of the equation, but I don't think it's. But I think by the time he pitches, it shouldn't be an issue.
So it's something he, I assume, is actively managing.
Yes. If we detailed everything that these guys go through to get on top of, we would have a full state of, I do it to try to make it easier on y'all not having to write and dwell on and talk about it. Thank you. I do it often, so otherwise I don't tell you this guy's left toe has been bothering him. I don't know if he can push off. I I mean, there are so many things like that with all 26 players that go on every day behind the scenes. One of the worst parts of my day is when Darth Vader, the trainer, walks in my office after everybody's done. I go, "What do you got?" And he goes, "Oh, all good today." Okay, stop, leave. It's always something. Always something.
Buck, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
What made you?
All right, guys. So there you go. That is the press conference for Buck Showalter. Again, not playing his hand there. Numerous times the reporter asked Buck, what is the situation with Jacob deGrom? Is he going to pitch game 2? Or is it going to matter on the result of game 1? Or whatever decision they actually have for Jacob deGrom and which day he will pitch. Again, a lot of people are thinking that it's going to be the result of game 1 that's going to determine that Mets win. You're saving Jacob deGrom for game 3 if necessary. If there's no game 3, pitch deGrom in the NLDS game 1. If the Mets lose game 1, deGrom will pitch game 2. That's what the consensus is, but Buck Showalter did not say that. But one thing that we did hear and do know now about the final roster has to be put out and finalized by 10 a.m. tomorrow. So with that said, 10 a.m. tomorrow, I will be at work, so I'm not going to go live for the final roster, but I will post whatever they post on Twitter or whoever posts the roster. I will put it on my community page, so make sure you follow and hit on that notification bell so you get notified when I post something on my community page where I just put up a post. And also, so make sure you have that notification bell so you know when I am going live. I am going live tomorrow for game 1 of the Wildcard Series, Mets and Padres, 7 p.m. Game starts at 8:07. Obviously, playoff game, it's an hour pregame, so 7 p.m. sharp. So make sure you're here. Make sure you get there early. Make sure you hang out. If you don't know what time you're going to get there, make sure you go to the stream early and click on that like button. We want to get a lot of likes before the stream even starts, so it's recommended to more people before the stream even starts. That's what we want. I'm expecting, we were getting 300 to 400 in the Brave series, so why wouldn't I expect that or more going into the playoff series? So with that said, make sure, again, tonight it's going to go up, the stream, so if you're just hanging out, checking out, go onto the page, look for it. Make sure you click on that notification bell so you get notified as soon as I post a stream for the next day or that night. So, again, by tonight, the stream for tomorrow's playoff game, Mets versus Padres, 7 p.m. pregame for the stream. So get there early, hit on that like button. I want to try to get about 20 to 30 likes, if possible, before we even get to the stream at 7 p.m. Ricky, let me just throw you my Twitter right now. That's it right there. Very simple. TMWRNYM. Very, very simple. All right, guys. So let's get into it a little bit. All right. So a little bit of news for Marte. I honestly think after the reaction from hold on one second. I don't know what they're doing here. Hold on. Oh, we got Mets Playoff Live here. All right. Can't complain about that on SNY. So if you got SNY, Mets Playoff Live. Hey, that looks familiar, right? Is on SNY with Andy Martino, Todd Zeal, and Gary Apple. All right, so with Marte, important to know, the way Buck Showalter was kind of beating around the bush, I have a feeling Marte is going to be ready to go. I know that might shock some people, but the way they're beating around the bush there with Marte, and according to Buck in his comments, he said it. If you were listening, he said, "Oh, he's hitting a little bit, he's throwing a little bit." I think they're keeping it on the wraps a lot. I do think that Marte is going to be on this wild card roster. Again, still yet to be determined. Again, 10 a.m. The final roster has to come out for the night for the wild card series. So I think Marte's going to be, but we also got to look at more important things. The bullpen. Who is going to make the bullpen roster for this wild card series? Again, you got a couple of lefties in the lineup. We all know about Juan Soto. Joely Rodriguez is going to be a part of the bullpen. But are you going to put David Peterson in the bullpen as well? I think he's going to be in. But here is the two guys that I think are going to be on the edge of making the roster. Tyler McGill or Michael Givens. The reason why I say that is because Tyler McGill, obviously power pitcher, hasn't really been good since he came back from the IL. Had one or two outings where they were okay, but we also happened in that Brave series in game 1. Couldn't do well at all. Couldn't get anybody out for the most part. And Michael Givens came back yesterday and pitched decent. So if Michael Givens is healthy or whatever the hell was wrong with him for the last 2 weeks, are they going to put Givens on the roster or McGill? I don't think it's going to be both of them. It's got to be one or the other. Because, you're going to put May, you're going to put Lugo, you're going to put Ottavino, you're going to put Diaz. So Trevor Williams is not going to be on the wild card roster because he pitched 6 innings yesterday. So that's out of the question. There's no point putting him on the roster when he can't really pitch at all. So he basically pitched a full game yesterday. So you're not going to see him in the wild card round. So here's the bullpen right here. Diaz, Ottavino, Lugo, May. Those are the 4 you already know for sure. Joely Rodriguez, I think you have to put him on the roster. He's the only actual lefty who's been in the bullpen all year. That's 1. So that's 5 guys so far. They carry around 6 or 7 bullpen arms. So who are you going to put? You got Michael Givens. You got Tyler McGill. Who are those 2 other guys you're going to put on the roster? Oh, excuse me. And Drew Smith's going to be on the roster. So that's 6. So 1 more spot. Michael Givens or Tyler McGill. I think you have to go with Michael Givens. The only reason why I say that is because he's a veteran. I trust him more. And what I've seen from Tyler McGill in low-pressure situations and high-pressure situations was not good at all. So I think Tyler McGill has to be off the roster. And again, depending on matchups, if you get to the next round, you'll look at it like that. But I think you need David Peterson and Joely Rodriguez because they got multiple lefties in that lineup, and you need multiple lefties, especially in this Padres series when you got to face Juan Soto in certain situations among other lefties that could hurt you in this series late in games if your starters are out of the game. So bullpen, Diaz, Ottavino, Lugo, May, Drew Smith, Joely Rodriguez, and David Peterson. I think I said that, right? So that's everybody that I think is going to be, and Michael Givens, excuse me. So I think those are the people, because remember, Walker and Carrasco are not going to be on this postseason roster. Oh, well, excuse me. Walker might be. I don't think Carrasco is going to be because you only need 3 starters. And it's a possibility that Walker and Carrasco might be off this postseason roster. But I think you have to keep one of those guys on just in case, last minute decision, one of those starting pitchers can't go. You got a bona fide starter that you can trust to go into the game. So there's a lot to look at. Again, 10 a.m. is the roster. 10 a.m. is the time the final roster has to be in for the wild card series. So again, who is, you got to look at Michael Givens, Tyler McGill, and probably, let's see. Yeah, Tyler McGill and Michael Givens. Those are the 2 I think is going to be either. I mean, look, the Mets already know who's on that roster. I even think they think Marte. They already know about Marte, yes or no. Obviously, they don't have to put up their roster now, so why would they until 10 o'clock tomorrow? So I think it's going to come down to Michael Givens and Tyler McGill as the other righty in the pen. And again, I would go with Michael Givens. I would go with the veteran in that spot. I think David Peterson is 100% because I think you need a second lefty with Joely Rodriguez as well. And Ghostway, don't worry, I will check just now. Let's see. Just followed me on Twitter, right? That's what you said? All right, cool. Give me a second. All right, I got you. Cool. And Ricky. All right, cool, guys. I got you. Just followed you. All right, guys. So, again, the lineup, pretty clear. I think it's a pretty good. It's pretty obvious that Francisco Alvarez is going to be on this postseason roster. Definitely, probably not as a catcher, but definitely as a right-handed DH. Again, Blake Snell is probably pitching game 2, so you got that lefty option as well. So that's something you have to look at too. Again, Vientos is a hit or miss. I don't know. Terrence Gore is going to be in this on this roster for sure. Obviously, Guillorme, Nito, Vogelback. Who else am I missing? Let's see. Naquin probably. So there's a lot to, the lineup, the roster for the lineup and the bench players are probably status quo. I don't think Vientos is going to be a part of it, but again, it depends how many pitchers the Mets put on the roster. I think you can bring up to 13 bullpen. You can have about 7 or 13 pitchers in total. So just do the math, and you're not going to need 5 starters. So 3 starters, obviously. David Peterson will be in the bullpen, so he's a bullpen arm. So again, I would think about 7, or they might even go with 8 relievers, and just go with 4. 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So maybe you put Walker on this roster as a emergency starter just in case of anything, and then you go with 8 bullpen arms, and then you got your bullpen and your starters set for the series. Again, it's all about matchups here. Again, multiple lefties in the Padres lineup. We know who they are. So multiple lefties in the lineup. You got problems with in bullpen guys with lefties all year. So I just think Peterson and Rodriguez are going to be the lefties out of the bullpen. Now, as I said before the Buck Showalter press conference, I was talking about what do the Mets have to do to advance to the NLDS and play the Dodgers. Same thing this Mets team did, and why this team won 101 games. What they did all year very well was capitalize on mistakes, and that goes with errors on the field, bad base running, working the pitch counts, playing productive baseball, basically productive outs. You got a man on second with nobody out. Don't strike out. Move the runner over. The Mets done that well all year until the month of September. That's what the Mets got to do. They have to go back to what they've done for the majority of the year. Again, if the Mets lineup is working well, they're taking pitches, they're working the counts. Again, Darvish throws strikes, right? He's not a huge strikeout guy. He likes to put the ball in play, but he's a huge ground ball guy as well. The Mets have to make sure that they don't try to launch a ball or the heavy sinker that Darvish throws. He's looking for a ground ball. Don't try to pull it 500 feet. Take the ball the other way. Take it up the middle. Leveled swings. Don't try to crush the ball. I think that's a big key with Darvish and why the Mets had problems with him in his career. He's a ground ball pitcher. He got a heavy sinker. He's got a lot of pitches just like Chris Bassett does. You have to make sure, because he'll throw a lot of crap all around. He does those strikes. But if he sees you fishing, there is no doubt about it. He is going to let you fish. If he's not going to throw anything in the strike zone, you're swinging. Well, why does he have to throw anything in the strike zone? That's what the Mets have to do. They got to make sure they don't overswing. They don't try to launch a ball. Again, if he leaves a mistake over the middle of the plate and that sinker stays up, well, that's the moment you crush it. But they got to look to hit the ball the other way. The Padres are going to shift off for a lot of Mets players. Try to hit the ball the other way. Don't try to be the hero. Get quality at-bats. They make mistakes. You got to capitalize. The big reason why we got swept against the Braves was because, yes, the Braves made many mistakes in that series. They made a couple of errors, and they left a lot of fat pitchers over the plate, and the Mets did not hit them. They did not capitalize on them. Numerous times in that series, they did not do that. The Mets got to go do that. Hit those mistakes, because you're playing really good teams. You're playing against really good pitchers. There are not going to be a lot of mistakes. So when those mistakes come, you got to capitalize on those mistakes. The Mets do that, they got a very good chance of winning. Like I said earlier, in September, the Padres offense wasn't very good. It was just as bad as the Mets offense trying to score runs. What kept them afloat and kept them in the wild card was their pitching. Their pitching is very good. Their starting pitching is very good. Their bullpen's decent. They're a little bit better than the Mets, but they're not, all world. All right, they can be beat. So what the Mets didn't do well against Darvish when they faced him this year, kept his pitch count very low. You can't let that happen. Foul off pitches. If you're looking fastball and he throws you a heavy sinker, foul it off. If it's a nasty sinker, try to foul it off. Try to stay alive in at bat. Frustrate him. Work the count. And you'll notice that right away. Again, we are the home team for the 3 games. The Padres right now are on the field, warming up. They're going through their workouts today. The SNY is live right now for Mets Playoff Live, and they're showing it right now. So again, I'll be watching until 7:00 tonight. Again, there's not so much to talk about because the rosters are not finalized. Yes, we can talk about Max Scherzer starting tomorrow. We don't know about the Game 2 starter because I think it's more result-oriented for Game 1. Mets win, Bassett will pitch Game 2. Mets lose, DeGrom will pitch Game 2. Seems like the right way to go, but we don't know what the Mets are doing. Once again, you just tuning in. Marte. Buck Showalter said, look, according to GM Billy Epler, Starlin Marte did baseball activities on Thursday and is not ruled out for the wild card round. Listen, if there was no chance of Marte being a part of the wild card postseason roster, it would have been said already. So knowing that they're kind of hinting at more activity, because in the beginning of the week, all we heard was like, it didn't look good when he did some baseball activity. That was like Monday and Tuesday. So either they were lying to us and didn't want to, put their cards on the table and let anybody know who's facing the Mets in the playoffs that Marte's available. I'm telling you this right now. You heard it here first. All right. Breaking news. All right. This is my own opinion, but I'm telling you, I'll be the first one to say it. Nobody's talking about this. Starlin Marte will be on the postseason roster for the Padres series. I guarantee it. Because if it was about a 50-50 chance, I think they would have just kept him off the roster. I think it's more of an 80% chance that he's on the roster. Obviously, he already worked out, right? He's not coming to the field at 7:00 in the morning, right? The postseason roster has to be finalized at 10 a.m. tomorrow. These players are not showing up for an 8:00 game at 9:00 in the morning. So it's not like Marte's going to come and work out at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then they're going to decide. They decided already, guys. You got to look at the writing on the wall. They worked out earlier today in the afternoon, early afternoon. They know if Marte's ready, because the Padres are on the field right now having their workouts. When's Marte going to come and throw the ball and hit the ball before 10 a.m. tomorrow? It's not happening. You're not sending those guys at Citi Field to come at 9:00 in the morning for an 8:00 game. It's not happening. They'll probably show up around 2, maybe 3 for postseason press conferences and all that crazy stuff. So with that said, guys, look at the writing on the wall. If they're hinting that there's still a possibility that Marte will be on the roster, workouts are done. Him hitting, him throwing, was already done today. They're not making him wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning to hit and throw the ball tomorrow. So they made a decision on Marte. They're just not telling us yet until it needs to be official at 10 a.m. So right here, you heard it. Put it on Twitter. Talking Mets at Rob says Starlin Marte will be on the postseason roster. Again, I might have egg on my face, but I'm pretty damn sure that the Mets know if Marte's ready or not. And if he wasn't ready, they would have said it by now because he hasn't been on the team in almost a month. So why don't we, or exactly a month tomorrow. So why don't they just go after it? Don't show your hand yet. There's no need to. And there you go. Yeah, well, Joe, that's what I'm saying. I had the presser on mute, but I just saw the notification pop up on the TV on SNY. So again, you got to look at the writing on the wall. Workouts are done. The Mets earlier this afternoon had a team workout. Clearly Marte was throwing and grabbing the bat and probably hitting. The Mets know if Marte is going to be active or not on the postseason roster. It's very simple. They know already. Again, 10 a.m., the final roster has to come out tomorrow. Marte's not driving to the City Field at 7 o'clock in the morning, taking swings and throwing a ball at 8 o'clock in the morning for the Mets to decide if he's going to be on the postseason roster. They know. Very simple. So there's a pretty good chance that Starlin Marte will be part of the postseason roster. Again, I said it first. Starlin Marte will be on the postseason roster 10 a.m. tomorrow when it's supposed to be finalized. I have that feeling because they're hinting over the last 2 days or so. Yeah, Marte grabbed the bat. Yeah, Marte had baseball activity on Thursday. That's today. Right? I do think Starlin Marte will be active on the postseason roster against the Padres. It's just my gut opinion. But again, if there was still no hope, I think they would have made that decision already and probably said it already. They know. All right. The Buck, Showalter, Epler, and the Mets and the players know who's on the roster for tomorrow. It's not going to be a shock to them at 10 a.m. It might be a shock to us at 10 a.m. But it just seems like, they talked about baseball activity, right? What is baseball activity? Touching a ball? Grabbing a bat? No. Baseball activity is swinging the bat. Baseball activity is throwing the ball. And look, cameras weren't allowed to show the full workouts. All right? There's a reason for that. And I'm very, very sure. I have that feeling that Marte is going to be on the roster. That's what I'm going to say. So, got about 10 minutes left. So, tomorrow. What is tomorrow? Obviously, game 1, 8:07 p.m. on ESPN. Mets, Padres, Scherzer, Darvish. That's what we've been told about the Padres. Darvish in game 1. I would have went DeGrom in game 1, only just in case you have Scherzer for a must-win scenario. But again, you can't go wrong with Scherzer. You paid him the big bucks, pitch him, right? That's what we got to see. Met fans, don't worry about the division. That's done. Don't feel bad. Don't feel depressed. Be excited, all right? 6 years it's been since the Mets played in the wild card against the Giants in 2016. All right, we all know Connor Gillespie. All right, we all know who he is. Right, we all know that name. It's gonna live forever in Mets brains. All right, turn over a new leaf. New Mets. You know that new slogan, right? These Mets. Right, me and my friends yesterday at the 7 line, we were kind of making fun, and I'm not gonna say what we said, but you get the idea what we were saying. But there was hoodies all over the place. There was shirts that it says these Mets. You know, that was the big hashtag that's been going around. Use that hashtag, guys. I'm going to use it on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, right before I go get offline, the stream ends, I am going to go on Twitter say exactly what I said in shorter version on Twitter with the hashtag these Mets and retweet, like, and just have fun with it, guys. Enjoy it. That's all you have to do. Again, it's a new slate. Every team starts 0-0. Doesn't matter how many wins the team has. Anybody who makes the playoffs, now it's 12 teams, can win the World Series. Don't let anybody troll you. Don't anybody laugh at you. Ha ha, the wild card for the Mets. Who cares? Right? It meant the matter of one tie-breaking game in Atlanta that could have made the difference. We have the same record as the Braves. All right? They won the tiebreaker. That is the only difference. Right? I'd be saying the same thing if the Mets won the division. Braves are really damn good. They had a historical June 1st until the end of the year. Second best to the Dodgers. The Mets were 23 games over 500 from June 1st until the last game of the season. All right? They were the best second place team record-wise since June 1st. Nobody has a better record than us that was in second place. So there's a lot to look and get excited about. Division sucks, obviously. But, Met fans, we don't get this enough. The 10th time in team history. The second best record in team history, 101 wins, 7 behind the 1986 Mets, world champion New York Mets in 1986. 9 out, I put this on Twitter after the Mets got swept by the Braves. 9 out of the 10 years the Mets made the playoffs, they got to the NLCS or better. And that means getting to a World Series or winning the World Series. So they got to the NLCS in 9 out of their 10 years. The only year was 2016 where they got knocked out in the wild card. Every other year, you don't believe me? Look it up. We've either got knocked out in the NLCS or we advanced to the World Series. Look for that. You know, people love to bring up Mets history, right? People love to bring up Mets history. Well, how about some positive Mets history? 9 out of 10 years the Mets have made the playoffs in their 60-year career history. They made the NLCS or better. You got to look at that, guys. You got to look at that. That's the positive swing you can put on things as well. So it doesn't matter. If you're watching SNY, Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso are talking right now. So if you want to listen to it, go ahead, enjoy. Well, Christian, yeah. And you know what? The Mets never lost a division series, but you know what? That can all change, right? We might not even get to a division series. I don't like to look forward, but again, non-Met fans who like to troll Met fans like to bring up 2007, 2008, 2015, 2006. They want to bring that up. They want to bring that up. So they want to bring up history so much. Here's some positive light in history. 9 out of 10 years, the Mets have made NLCS or better. That means making the NLCS, winning the NLCS, getting to the World Series, or winning the World Series. They haven't done anything less except in 2016. That's it. So there's some positive light for history for all those people who want to troll, right? That's what I said. Met fans, don't worry about the trolls. Pick up the papers tomorrow. We're going to have back pages all over the place. I'm picking up all the newspapers I can to get the back pages for, wild card series, wild card playoffs, Mets, Padres, So it's going to be fun. You got to enjoy it. Again, everybody's hinting that the Mets are going to be wearing black tomorrow. The Mets Twitter icon on their Twitter account, they changed it to black. So it looks like it's going to be a blackout. Again, so if you go into the game, wear your black. If you're watching it on TV, if you're watching it at home, post it. If you follow me on Twitter and you're a subscriber of the channel, tag me in a post. Take a picture, put it on Twitter with your black hat, black jersey, black shirt, whatever it is. I'll retweet it. We got to get it out there. Hashtag these Mets, right? That's the hashtag the Mets will be rolling with. Hashtag the hell out of it. Enjoy it, guys. So we got about a couple of minutes. Again, 7 p.m. pregame tomorrow. Mets versus Padres pregame, 7 p.m. by about a half hour from now, 45 minutes, I will be posting the stream for tomorrow. So make sure you click on that notification bell so you get notified as soon as that stream goes up, so you can click on the like button early. Again, I want to get a lot of likes early so more people can get the stream early, so that it gets recommended to them early. So when that stream goes live at 7 p.m., we got a lot of people in the stream ready to go. So that's the most important thing. What are you guys going to do? Once it posts tonight, hit on that like button. That's all you got to do. All right? So let's make it happen. Cheer on the Mets. Blackout at Citi Field tomorrow. Blackout Fridays. Always a fun time at Citi Field. Max Scherzer on the mound for the Mets. Yu Darvish for the Padres. Good matchup. I think it's a balanced matchup. It's a very even matchup. It's pitching against pitching. That's what the Mets and the Padres have been successful with. They're pitching. Offensively, looking at both teams, the numbers are very similar in September. Both offensive has struggled. All right? So it's not one team coming in hot. Both teams are stumbling over the finish line. And both teams were struggling. The Mets, in this case, were trying to win a division. The Padres were trying to stay in their wild card, being a wild card team, because they had a really good chance of losing a wild card to the Brewers and the Phillies and not making the playoffs. So they basically had the last 4 or 5 days of the season trying to stay alive. And the Mets were trying to win a division. So both teams were fighting for something. And that's it. No need to cry over spilled milk. The division was lost because the Mets couldn't win one game in Atlanta. Right? We have the same record. They have the tiebreaker. If it was flipped around, I'd say the same thing. Right? Record-wise, we were not better than each other. Yeah, Brave fans are going to say we're better. Okay, they can say that. But again, when the Mets play whoever, in this case the Padres, you both start 0-0. It's a clean slate. Nothing matters, right? Season series don't matter. How bad your pitching might have been doesn't matter. No matter how good your hitting ones doesn't matter. It comes down to that game, that night, that inning, that pitch, that at bat. That's it. If you don't look forward, you're never going to enjoy what is going to be the game tomorrow. You're going to be thinking about the wrong thing when you should be focused on game 1, wild card round, Citi Field, Friday night, wearing black, rooting on your Mets. If you don't do that, I don't know what to tell you guys. I just don't know what to tell you. It is what it is. And Aaron, I understand you're talking about they should do the 163 for the division, but how does that really help the Mets? Right? If you have to pitch Scherzer or DeGrom in that game and you lose it, now you don't have Scherzer or DeGrom in the wildcard series. So it can be a blessing in disguise and it could hurt you really badly. At this point, at least you could have, in this situation, you set up your rotation the way you want to. And that's what the Mets had the opportunity to do. That's it. So with that said, guys, it's 7 o'clock. I will see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Let me know in the comments, guys. What are you going to do once the stream is posted tonight? What are you going to do? So everybody got it clear. Let me know in the comments before I go. What do you got? One thing you guys got to do when the stream pops up tonight. Let's go, guys. Come on. Hit on that like button. Ghostway, thank you. There you go, Joe. Again, please click on that bell, the notification bell, right? Hit on that notification bell if you haven't yet. I know you're a subscriber. Some people subscribe and forget to hit the notification button. You don't hit the notification button. Now you have to go on to YouTube and hopefully it's there, right? So hit on that like button. It's going to be up a little after 7:30 or before that. We'll see. Thank you, guys. You guys are listening. That's always a good thing. So again, 7:30, the stream is going to pop up on your YouTube channel or page, and we'll get it there, right? Trying to look for 20 to 30 likes by the time 7 o'clock comes tomorrow. So the recommendation for that stream is going to be skyrocketing. You want impressions, right? If you don't know what impressions are, impressions is how many people actually see the stream while they're scrolling and get recommended YouTube videos. So there we go. Once again, guys, Mets Padres pregame tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'll be with you every step of the way. Enjoy it, guys. Get excited. Wear your Mets stuff. If you're going to work, if you're going to school, if you're going wherever you got to go, represent the Mets colors and don't let nobody knock you down, because no matter what, you're one of 12 teams in the playoffs and everybody has an opportunity to win the World Series. Once again, guys, I'll see you tomorrow night at 7. Everybody have a good night. Let's go Mets. See you next time, guys.
We got the teamwork to make the dream work. Let's go. Let's go. We're gonna make it this time. We're gonna take it home. Let's go. Let's go. Do it. Do it. Make it happen. Where there's a middleman, you'll find a Mets fan. Let's go. This is a Mets year for all your Mets here.